Welcome to Camille's Harem, not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers. Today, I'm going to talk about a manga one-shot, Burn the Witch, and what it means for the long-running series Bleach. Hey, it's the month of Halloween, and witches are totally a part of that! No, it's not just an excuse to talk about a manga I really like. Why do you ask? Some quick things to get out of the way. For those of you who don't know, a one-shot in manga is when an author tells one big overarching story in about 30 to 40 pages. Also, Bleach, written and drawn by Tite Kubo, was a popular manga and anime series that ran from 2001 to 2016 and followed the exploits of the protagonist Ichigo Kurosaki, a human who discovers that he can not only see and interact with ghosts, but he also has the power to fight demons on their behalf. Now, while this video is about Burn the Witch, I do have to set it up a little bit more by talking about Bleach as a series. Bleach is best known for its insanely good Soul Society arc, and its ridiculously overpowered and likable villains, such as Sosuke Aizen, and its incredibly unfulfilling series finale. Ugh, it still enrages me! You see, though Bleach was not always about epic sword fights and death-defying physics. Originally, Bleach was an action-packed supernatural horror. When you read the opening chapters of Bleach, it is dripping with horrific villains and super creepy setups. The hollows from Fishbone to Grand Fisher are all terrifying in what they represent and what they do to ghosts and humans alike. Ichigo's fight with Grand Fisher largely marks the end of the manga's identity as a horror story. From there it transitions to the Soul Society arc, which is an incredible tale of a daring rescue. Seriously, it is super good. But from there, Bleach becomes just another, shonen action series. Kubo tried to reinvent it during the Fullbringer arc, which is massively underappreciated in my opinion. The problem with that arc stems mostly from the fact that it came after Aizen's defeat. There was such an epic, crazy ending, and it tied up so many loose ends that when you try to basically jumpstart the story from there, it will obviously feel weak. Taken at face value, however, the Fullbringer arc is a semi-return to horror and focuses once more on Ichigo learning how to tap into his ghostly powers. If the series had started there, with only hints to some mysterious past in which this main character Ichigo had lost his powers in some epic crazy war, well then it would have been this perfect opening, and it would have set up things to be like super spooky and both kind of then a mystery as well as a horror story as you're dealing with these horrific elements of fighting hollows and trying to figure out who's attacking Ichigo's friends, as well as a mystery as to what had really happened to Ichigo in the past. But no, you see, you can't really do that when it comes on the heels of, this. Mugetsu. This is where Burn the Witch comes in, and why I think it is a brilliant continuation of the Bleach universe. Kubo's long one-shot takes place in London rather than in Japan and introduces us to a society where the ghosts and demons are incorporated rather than exterminated. And instead of fighting hollows, the witches protect humans by dealing with creatures that they call dragons. The setting is entirely different, as is the story's tone. Kubo pitched it as a romantic comedy of all things. I don't know if I quite agree with that, but whatever. Burn the Witch follows Balgo, a name I still don't quite like, but whatever. Who is a total Cone knockoff, who is obsessed with seeing Noelle, the witch's panties. Noelle and her partner Spangle work to keep the dragons of Reverse London in check and in good health so they don't spill out into the physical London and cause mass slaughter among the unsuspecting humans. Unbeknownst to all three of them, Balgo's best friend and roommate Selvi, along with their little dog, are dragons in disguise who are trying to eat some witches in the hopes of obtaining immortality. Here is where the horror aspect comes in, this return to what Bleach originally was. The dragons are completely unnatural to Balgo and cannot be seen. They have been masquerading in his life for 10 years in order to set up this trap. They defy all that is normal, which is a common element of horror. A fight later ensues, wherein the two dragons ambush Noelle and Spangle, nearly killing Spangle in the process, until Balgo steps in and tries to stop the dragon, whom he still perceives as his friend Selvi. Noelle is finally able to kill the dragon, trying to murder her partner, and then she attempts to kill Balgo for being infected by a dragon's presence for so long, as per the ancient laws of Reverse London. However, she is informed that Balgo will be spared and protected because of his long association with the dragons. It has affected his spiritual makeup, making him half-dragon. And this ends with a hilarious chase scene showing off that Reverse London is actually the Soul Society's western branch. While this one-shot's tone is much more humorous, and I'm still on the fence about the romance aspect, it is a slow and good return to the supernatural horror that Bleach was. Now, for those who have or will read this manga, which I highly encourage, the sweeping, beautiful scenery of the dragons in Reverse London may not look very frightening for you, but I will point out the resemblance to the ancient Magus' Bride, which evokes the idea that all magic is inherently terrifying, no matter how beautiful it is. And Burn the Witch is very much the same way. The world of dragons is beautiful, but you are constantly reminded of how dangerous it can become if the witches are not keeping their ever vigilance. Should this one-shot become a full series, which I am really hoping will happen, it will be a return to supernatural horror, but with a fun twist. It would be really neat to see how this paradise of dragons could become upset with the right kinds of dark dragons getting involved, or with other villains. And with Balgo being half-dragon, there's a great opportunity for him to experience the horror of transforming himself into a dark dragon. I mean, if I get to see a variation of Vassal Lord Ichigo crossed with a dragon, then please sign me up. I want to see this happen. But for novice writers, what does all of this mean for you? Why should you care that Lars is ranting about a manga that he really enjoys, which he even admits saying that it kicked the horror bucket long ago and is only slightly returning to it now with a one-shot that we're not even certain will become a running series, which once again I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it will. Here's the deal. The story of Bleach's evolving story is something to take note of. Horror elements affecting a teen's life, introducing dragons, or something that is just plainly supernatural can be introduced in all kinds of forms. You can be creative with your horror, is kind of what I'm trying to say. It doesn't always have to be a haunted house or a spooky forest or an abandoned theme park where the story takes place. You don't always need that for your setting. Remember, something like Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Hogwarts is this fantastic, beautiful, magical place, but it hides a terrible secret right underneath it. Even romantic comedies can be made horrifying, and I don't just mean horrifyingly bad. They can become scary. In fact, this is what keeps the horror genre alive. Being creative with how you introduce your horror elements, or your horrifying villains, or your horrifying setup. Sometimes having a witty romantic comedy action series, such as what Burn the Witch appears to be at first glance, is a wonderful setup for then introducing something truly terrifying down the road. While you're so wrapped up in, look at these cool dragons, and look at this neat magical world of Reverse London, and will Balgo ever get a real head on his shoulders and stop trying to be a pervert? While you're focused on those things, then the author can brilliantly start leaving the little breadcrumb trail that will lead you inevitably to a really cool dark twist. And we've seen it before that Kubo is capable of doing something like that. That was Bleach's bread and butter at the very beginning, and I really feel like this is a return to that. And so as novice writers, what can we take away from this? Well, we can take away from this that it's totally fine to start out with a setup that isn't, once again, as I said, like a haunted house or something like that. You can introduce one kind of story and slowly begin transforming it into something that is way more terrifying. Being creative with horror is as I said, what keeps the genre alive. In an age where, as Water News puts it best,
times have changed. Scaring isn't enough anymore.
Well, that's it for this video. Again, I highly recommend both Bleach and Burn the Witch, and you don't need to read Bleach at all in order to appreciate Kubo's one-shot Burn the Witch. It is a great standalone story. And if you want more writing advice from the Harem than me just rambling about a manga that I really enjoy, then please check out our podcast, Camille's Harem, on Podbean, iTunes, and Google Play, where we do break down personal problems that many writers have, especially ones that we have as novice writers, and we try to find solutions to them. We also have goodies for you to check out on Tumblr, Pinterest, and Reddit, special discussions, special kinds of homework, challenges, artwork, all of these things that help to give you inspiration to writing your stories. And links for all of those sites are in the description. And please, last of all, help us find terrible fanfics to do epic readings of. You can leave links to them in the comment section or via our Twitter at Camille's Harem. And don't forget that the next video will be with the entire harem. So, we'll see you then. Tschüss.